Hey, I'm Kristin.
And I'm Ashley.
And this is Locked in a Closet.
Join us as we tell each other stories of true crime, the paranormal, urban legends, and all things spooky. Hey, welcome back, everybody.
Hello. How are you today?
Same as last week, same as it'll always be.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I don't know where this came from. But
I know, right? I was just like, feet off it. Okay, we're there. This is supposed to be an escape for people, and I feel like, too, we're just like, yep, life is exactly the same as it's always been.
Mediocre.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
honestly, I'll take I'll take mediocre over everything's on fire and this is fine, but
it's true.
Which is also where we're
true. At least we don't have burning matches flying down from our ceilings, so it could always
right. The episode was insane.
I know.
I was so scared the night after I wrote it. I was like, don't invite anything into your house by like thinking about this too much.
Yeah, I know. I always feel like that. I'm always just like, even today I was sitting downstairs on my new couch because I'm so excited about it. And I was working, and I usually just put like YouTube on in the background, just like as background noise. And I was just watching like paranormal videos, like people's personal stories, and I had to turn them off. I was like, I can't do this today. I'm just not in the mood.
Sometimes you need to be in that like mind space because
yeah.
Well,
and also because I'm home alone, I forgot that my window upstairs was open.
Oh no.
So I was like hearing stuff and I was like, what's happening? But it was because people were across the street.
Yeah, I always have a tendency to like read all of the scary stories or watch like scary like YouTube compilations of ghosts when I'm alone, and like Jeff's not going to be home till late that night, and then it's like, why did I do this?
I know. It's, oh my god, we're kind of wimps.
I'm a huge I love this like, stuff.
Talking about ghost stuff all the time. We're just like, it's okay.
I love it. I also simultaneously don't believe in it, but also believe in it, and then I get very scared.
Yep, me too. You basically just described me.
Yeah, I saw a quote, or heard a quote rather, on TikTok the other day that fucked me up. It was like, if people break into your house during the day, they want your stuff. But if they break into your house at night, they want you. I was like, oh no, I don't want that in my head now.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Not into that.
But we have an alarm system for a reason. So
yeah. Well, that's good.
Don't even try. It's because I'm too paranoid.
Yeah, really. I mean, all you hear about, I know like a couple months ago, or maybe it was like last fall or something, somebody was like on the run who had murdered somebody.
Oh my gosh.
In like Carlton Place. And I was like,
oh, I remember that. And they put like an Amber Alert out. And I was like, oh my god.
I was like, I work at home. I'm alone today. Yeah, it was scary. I was like, maybe not loving this today.
Heck no.
Just makes it too real. If you like read about stories from like forever ago, it's like, whatever. That's not gonna happen to me. And then it's just like, no, somebody like close to you just murdered someone and ran away. It's like, oh shit.
When we first moved into the house that we live in now, and we're kind of like out in the country, and there was like a community Facebook group that we had joined, and people were talking about like this rash of break-in. So of course that's when I was like, we need to get an alarm system put in. But people were like talking about like, this one person was saying they were in their hot tub and they saw someone come in through their garage. They had just first of all, like I lock every door like behind me after if it's like, especially a door that goes to the outside, like and they're just like leaving, and their kids I guess are like upstairs in bed, and they just like saw this man enter their house while they're in their hot tub. God. Like absolutely not.
Terrifying. Yeah, we lock every door. Michael, like if he leaves to go like run an errand or whatever, he'll like lock me in. Like I can hear the lock like closing on the door, which I appreciate because
don't want
Jeff
sets the alarm every time he leaves, like he resets it. sometimes I'll have it on during the day, but like I also like to have the patio door open for like a breeze. Please don't come and break into my house. I have 2 big scary dogs, so
there you go. Yeah. Also, we just won't tell people where you live, so
yeah. Please don't try and find me.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, my story that I'm doing today is from like the 60s, and people just didn't lock their doors.
Yeah,
and I'm like, how? That's scary.
I don't understand how that was a thing, how that still is a thing. I don't care where you live. I will preach this to the day I die. I don't care where you live. It takes you 2 seconds. It's not an inconvenience.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know.
And if you don't, and if it's like too fresh, like we have one of those front doors, like we put it in where it's like the keypad. So if you don't want to carry a key, you don't have to fucking carry a key.
Yeah. Yeah, I like those so much more than keys.
Yeah. It's
like the house that I grew up in had one of those. And then when we moved, I like had to have a house key. And I was like, I've never had a house key before. Yeah. This is weird. I was like 17. Like, I had no idea.
That's like, I have friends that have like those cars that now I feel like I said car last episode and now I can't stop saying car.
Oh no, there's a spider on the wall. Oh no.
Oh no, what are you going to do?
I don't know.
How big is it? Get a book.
No, I can't. It's a smaller one, but
it's not too bad. Throw your shoe at it.
Do I move? Yeah, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna go to my bed. Give me 1 second.
Pause for spider break.
Yeah,
I respect this.
Anyway, did you want to talk about murder today?
Yeah, murder of the spiders. Yeah, yeah. It's me first, right?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay. All right. So I am doing the murder of Ronald Platt, or as the media calls this, the Rolex Killer.
Ooh.
Yeah. Fancy. So on July 28th, 1996, the badly decomposed body of an unidentified man was discovered off the south coast of England. I promise this is a Canadian story, just also happens in England. There was nothing on his body to identify him except for a Rolex wristwatch. Say that 5 times fast.
Good luck.
That was my 8th try. Yeah. Luckily for the deceased, his Rolex watch would be the key that solved his murder. See, on the back of his watch, there was a serial number and other markings that were used to identify the deceased man as that of Ronald Platt. Because, you know, especially expensive watches like Rolex, like keep vigorous records of like who buys it and who owns their product and stuff. And they were also able to determine his almost exact time of death and date because I fucked that sentence up. They were also able to use the watch to determine the almost exact date and time when Ronald died, since the watch stopped working within 3 days of movement. So it was one of those watches that you like manually wound with like movement. And so the battery would die after 3 days of no movement. So they were able to determine when he basically died, which is crazy. And the watch was fully waterproof. So like nothing got damaged. Like the mechanism was all fine. So Rolex seems to be worth it.
There you go.
So it was determined that poor Ronald had been recently invited to go out on a fishing trip with a friend, a man by the name of David Davis. And it was on this fishing trip that poor Ronald met his death. I know, what a name, right? I feel like I mentioned this on the podcast before, but my old doctor was Donald McDonald. It's like, who lets their kids name? Who names their kids that?
Oh.
So Ronald had actually met Davis and Davis's wife prior in the year 1990 in the small town of Harrogate. I hope I'm saying that right, England. It just so happened that Davis and his wife had just recently moved to England from Canada, and Ronald was thrilled as he too was a fellow Canadian. Their friendship blossomed, and they ended up going into business together. So Davis invested a large sum of money into Ronald, and they started a TV repair business together because Ronald was like a TV repairman. So they like just broke out and made their own. Okay. So during their friendship, they obviously often talked about Canada a lot and how much they missed home. And Ronald had mentioned that he really wanted to move back to Canada. Like he was really missing it, but like couldn't afford it. So Davis generously told Ronald that he would pay for him to relocate back to Canada under the condition that Ronald leave behind his identification so that Davis could still run their business together in England.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I'm talking like driver's license, birth certificate, and a stamp that had Ronald's signature.
Oh, my God.
So everything you need to fully take over someone's identity. I'm not sure what Ronald was thinking, but he agreed. So in 1992, Ronald moved back to Canada. And I feel like you know where I'm going with this because his body was found in England 4 years later. So wasn't a happy ending for poor Ronald. So, of course, while Ronald was gone, David obviously stole his identity. And he lived under Ronald Platt's name for the next 4 years. And everything was going fine. It was going according to plan. So who was this David Davis man who managed to trick poor Ronald and steal his identity and then ultimately kill him? So David Davis was actually a man named Albert Johnson Walker, and he was from Hamilton, Ontario. Albert Johnson
he went
Walker.
By David Davis?
I know, right?
Oh my God. He chose that.
It's like being like, hello, I'm John Smith. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So Albert Johnson Walker was a Sunday school teacher and a financial consultant in Ontario. He had a wife and 4 children and was all things considered living like, you know, the typical dream, American dream, Canadian dream, whatever. Despite being a high school dropout, Albert worked his way up through the banking system and he was able to quit and establish his own bookkeeping business that eventually turned into a large financial company. So, you know, classic Drake, started from the bottom, now he's here. He made it. He was an exceptional salesman, so good in fact that he actually managed to steal just over $3 million from his friends, fellow churchgoers, and family.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he wasn't ethical, as we all know now. However, Albert wasn't as smart as he thought he was, and his scam was quickly revealed when his clients started demanding their money back, and he was not paying them back. And so Albert was going to be charged with fraud. So under this weird guise of him like taking his daughter on a skiing trip to Europe, which I'm not too sure, like when you're in the middle of a fraud investigation, if you're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
He and his 15-year-old daughter, Sheena, fled to England in 1990. I don't know why he just took one daughter or any of his daughters, but he took Sheena.
Yikes.
Yeah. And he took along with him like all of the money that he had stolen from all his clients and then assumed the name David Davis.
Like a dumb.
So, yeah. Well, it worked for him for a little while, I guess. Albert's daughter, Sheena, then assumed the identity of his wife.
Ew.
Mm-hmm. Which is not only weird because of incest, but she was also only 15.
Oh,
so
God.
Weird and gross.
Yeah.
And during this time that they were in England together, she gave birth to 2 children. And the paternity of these children is still technically a mystery, but I feel like we kind of know.
Not a mystery.
I feel like we kind of know, yeah. Unfortunately. I mean, allegedly, please don't sue me, Sheena. You could have had those children with English men, and
let's hope.
Sure, let's hope. So with Ronald Platt gone back to Canada now, so now we're back, and Albert Walker assuming his identity, everything was going smoothly for 5 years. It went fine. He assumed Ronald Platt's identity. It wasn't until 1995 that everything fell apart when Ronald Platt returned back to England suddenly to surprise Albert/Davis, because he's got /Ronald, all his different names.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Ronald had run out of money in Canada and decided to return back to England to rejoin his business partner and continue on in the business. Of course, Albert/Davis was in a bit of a pickle now. Everyone knew him as Ronald Platt, and he just couldn't have the real one running around ruining the illusion.
Oh, my God.
Right? So on July 20th, 1996, Albert/Davis invited Ronald out for a fishing trip where he knocked Ronald unconscious, tied him to an anchor, and then threw him overboard. I kind of hope that he killed him before he threw him.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's rough.
Without the murder part of this, it kind of sounds like a Lindsay Lohan movie from like the 90s.
She's the man, but
Yeah.
with fraud and murder.
Yeah, like it just sounds like it could be like a like Mary-Kate and Ashley type thing.
Yeah.
Like, weird.
Oh my God. So it was 2 weeks later when Ronald's badly decomposed body was then found by another fisherman, and the investigation began. Of course, when the police looked into Ronald Platt, they discovered that he was still alive? ? No, of course, it ended up being Albert/Davis, reassuming Ronald's name. However, he was quickly arrested and charged, and during his trial, he was found guilty of murder and received an automatic life sentence, which he was serving in England at the time.
Would you would you not think that like if you killed somebody and you were also pretending to be them, that you would definitely be like the number one suspect? Like
I think he thought he had done the perfect murder because he stripped the identity of this guy, and this guy wasn't a UK citizen. So because he was Canadian, so I think he thought that like there's no way they're going to identify him, but Rolex came in clutch and solved a murder.
Thanks, Rolex.
Yeah.
Sponsor our next episode if you want.
I will happily take one of your watches. So eventually he was actually then transferred back to Canada for some reason. I'm not too sure why, because he did have a life sentence in the UK. But here he faced his charges of fraud and money laundering. And so he basically was given the rest of his life sentence here, plus whatever the fraud charges were.
Right.
It's also worth noting that a lot of the money that Albert stole and brought to England still remains missing. He managed to hide it away and it's just gone.
Wow.
So hopefully he never gets out and gets to use it.
Yeah, really.
I also want to know that his daughter Sheena has since spoken out about her father and her time with him. He is an evil man and a con artist who manipulated me and lied to me just like everybody else, she said in a Globe and Mail interview. She's particularly worried when he was transferred to Canada to serve out the rest of his sentence. She worried for his safety. She really didn't want him to even be in the same country. I don't blame her. I completely believe that she was really probably manipulated and taken advantage of when he took her to England.
Yeah.
And probably sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
Allegedly. So, but yeah, so that's the really incredibly short story of the Rolex Killer, as the media likes to call it. But ultimately, it's the murder of poor Ronald Platt, a Canadian who just trusted too much.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody is just like, okay, I'll pay for this if you give me all of your identification and your signature. Like, maybe don't.
Yeah, maybe think that one a little through.
Yeah.
Just do a
He
pro
must
and
have been
con
like
list.
really desperate to get back to Canada if he was willing to do that. Or just like way too trusting.
I mean, I feel like trusting's definitely part of it, but maybe desperate.
Yikes.
It sounds like they had a friendship, like they ran a business together. So I could see why you would be like, why couldn't I trust this guy? It wasn't just like some random guy. They had built like a friendship for years.
Yeah. That's so shitty.
Which is really fucked up that the guy could just like kill him in a really awful way.
I promise I will never steal your identity.
And I promise I will never just let you have my identity.
Great. It's a good thing though that I have a very real Rolex that I wear every day.
Oh, I know. Please don't take it off when you murder me.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I am doing the Shell Lake Massacre, which is in Saskatchewan, because I haven't touched there yet.
No one wants to touch Saskatchewan.
In the early hours of August 15th, 1967, on their family farm near Shell Lake, Saskatchewan, farmer and war veteran James Peterson, his wife Evelyn, and 7 of their children were shot dead. There was one survivor of the attack, 4-year-old Phyllis Peterson, who was found hidden under her bed sheets in between 2 of her sisters. This poor little girl.
Yeah.
In an interview, Phyllis recalls knowing that there was someone in the home, and she reported that she heard her 5-year-old brother William fighting with the person quite a bit, and he was telling him that he could go out and shoot the cows rather than his family. 5-year-old. And she also said that she didn't remember hearing any gunshots, which I guess is probably good.
Yeah. I remember the story now. I was going to cover this
Really?
last time we did. Yeah. And then I don't know why I didn't do it, but it's a heartbreaking one.
I know. It's so sad. So there was another sibling as well. 19-year-old Kathy Hill was a newlywed who had just moved to BC with her husband. So 21-year-old Victor Hoffman was responsible for this random act of violence. He had just been released from a psychiatric hospital in North Battleford, Saskatchewan, just 3 weeks before the killings.
That's like a scary movie.
I know. It was reported that Hoffman had been hearing voices and having hallucinations about the devil and angels since he was 6 years old. And at 10, he started feeling the impulse to kill.
Why did they let him out?
I don't know.
Oh, no.
So he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. However, he was released to his parents' care on tranquilizers.
Oh, no.
So Hoffman left his parents' house just before sunrise on August 15th and drove aimlessly until he spotted the Petersons' farmhouse on a rural road. He claimed that he had never seen the house before. However, the voices told him, "That's it. This is where you have to go and do it."
Oh my god. So it's like a completely random fuck. That has honestly been my nightmare. Because like when I tell people like, oh, I'm scared of like being broken and murdered, they're like, why would anyone want to do that to you? I'm like, sometimes it's just random.
Sometimes it just happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he
also fuck you. I'm pretty murderable. No.
Like, why wouldn't you want to murder me?
Yeah. Please don't.
So he parked his car and made his way into the home, armed with a .22 caliber Browning pump action repeater rifle. If that means anything to anyone.
Oh.
Doesn't mean anything to me.
No. Sounds like a toy. Yeah.
It makes me think of Christmas Story.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
That's all I can think of when I think of any gun ever.
I know.
So James Peterson, the dad, he tried fighting Hoffman. However, he ended up being shot 11 times in the family's kitchen.
Jeez.
Evelyn, who was the mom, they believe was trying to escape the home through a window with their 1-year-old son, Larry. And the two were shot behind the house.
Okay, I know we're talking about a really, really sad thing, but who looks at a child and goes, Larry?
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Like, I'm sorry, condolences to the family, but Larry.
A baby named Larry.
Yeah.
You gonna put that one on the list for your son?
Oh, yeah. It's right at the top now. So precious.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the other children, Jean, who was 17, Mary, who was 13, Dorothy, who was 11, Pearl, who was 9, William, who was 5, and Colin, who was 2, were all shot close range while they were asleep in their bedrooms. Except earlier it said that William was fighting with the guy, so I don't know about that.
That's crazy. Whenever you hear these like crazy massacre stories, when it's especially with it's like a gun, it makes me wonder. I'm like, did they not hear? Although I'm a heavy sleeper, so it's hard to judge. But man, that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
No one had even a chance to react, I guess. Ugh.
Yeah, or like you wake up and you're just like paralyzed with fear.
Yeah, or like I guess you hear it, you hear something, and you're like, you wake up and you're like, did I just hear something? Yeah, and then it's too late. They're already in your room. Like,
yeah. I think it was a pretty small house too, so he didn't really have to go far.
Oh, I'm sure all the rooms were like shared.
Yeah. So there have been conflicting reports as to why Hoffman didn't shoot Phyllis, the 4-year-old that survived. In one statement, he said that he didn't know why he didn't shoot her, and then in another interview, he said that she had the face of an angel, and that's why he didn't shoot her. So
she's lucky. Holy.
Yeah, I feel like I may have written this down wrong, but Wildrew Land, I guess was the guy's name. I don't know. He found the bodies when he arrived to help Mr. Peterson with farm duties later that morning.
Oh, no.
So he had to travel 6 kilometers to the nearest telephone post in order to report the murders to the police.
That would be one long trek.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
So obviously a manhunt started immediately for the killer. And then when the police got to the scene, Phyllis recalls an officer holding her and crying as they left the house. So this is when she kind of realized how bad it must have been, because like growing up, you hear like police officers are like the strongest people in like They're like super tough and stuff, and like he's like holding her crying, so she was just like, oh shit. I mean, she was 4, so she didn't say oh shit, but you know what
I mean.
She may have, who knows.
Yeah.
So
Jeez.
RCMP arrested Hoffman on August 19th, so 4 days after he did it, at his parents' home. So he told officers that he had fought the devil before the murders. So following his arrest, he was diagnosed, again, I guess he did more testing, with paranoid schizophrenia, and he was found not guilty by reason of insanity.
I don't like that.
I know.
I don't know if I agree with it. It's controversial. It's controversial.
Yeah. And he was committed for treatment at a mental institution in Southern Ontario. So starting in 1992, Hoffman was allowed to go off campus with escorted passes, despite frequent reports stating that he was not mentally stable still. So this is like similar to my last true crime story.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just doesn't.
Why? Canada. We're too nice.
Yeah.
Rick.
So luckily he never killed anybody else when he was off on his escorted passes. But in 2004, on May 21st, he did die of cancer. But to this day, this crime is still widely known as Canada's worst random mass murder.
Wow.
Yeah. Following the murders, the family's oldest child, Kathy, she ended up moving back to Saskatchewan to take over the farm, and she ended up raising Phyllis like as her own, which is kind of nice that at least they had each other.
Yeah.
And then like through the years, the two have spoken out about the mental health system in Canada and just saying how like they don't recognize when people need actual help until it's too late and they can't do anything about it. Which is
I completely agree.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that.
Wow.
Another short one, but you know
what that reminds me of too is the what was it, Vincent Lee, the guy on the bus that decapitated the guy and cannibalized him. So he's out now. I don't know if you. Oh my God, really? And he's changed his name because.
Are you allowed to do that?
And he's not being. I could be wrong. This is the last time I did the research on this. He's not like. I don't think he has to check in with anybody. Like. Which is concerning because, in short, basically he was schizophrenic, I think, too, and was on meds and then went off his meds. And that's when he murdered that guy on the bus. I'm forgetting his name. I'm really sorry. And then he obviously, same thing, pled insanity, was found not guilty for a reason in insanity. Spent time in wherever, and he's released and just lives a normal life in... You'll love this. Manitoba.
So it's not real.
So he lives somewhere in Winnipeg, I think, and he has like a whole new identity, which I know, I guess people can change, and mental health is serious and can make people do things, but like
I feel like if you have like a track record of doing stuff like that, you need to be monitored, and you need to like somebody needs to make sure that you're still on your meds. Some
sort of parole issue thing. Yeah. Like checking in, drug tests to make sure it's in a system. Like, I have problems with that one. Yeah. And I have problems with the whole mental health issue in Canada as well. Like it's not taken seriously.
Yeah. Enough. I was actually doing some research on that today for my boss, and like, it's just insane. Like, psychiatrists specifically is what I was doing the research on. And it's like the number of Canadian citizens or like people living in Canada or whatever to psychiatrists, the ratio is like 7,000 something to 1. So it's like, there's no way.
It's not enough. Yeah.
No, like, it's insane. And psychiatrists are people too. Like, it's not like they could just take on like all these cases.
No.
Like, they're still gonna need some help like themselves. And
one of the toughest jobs out there, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like anything really in the mental health industry it's not easy.
No. It's pretty messed up. Like back where I lived in Coquitlam, BC, there was an old mental hospital it sits now. It's a movie set essentially, but it's abandoned, but everything goes to film there. And they actually did just rebuild a more functional hospital on the grounds recently. It was being constructed before I left. But at the time when they closed it down, I think in like the 80s, maybe 90s, maybe 70s, around then. They literally took all of the patients on buses and drove them out to a town nearby and then dumped them. So now there is like a huge homelessness issue in this town that's still an issue because of what happened back in whenever this mental institution shut down. And it's not just like they're homeless people, but they're mentally ill homeless people. So it's like they can't even do anything to help themselves. Like,
oh my God.
It's just that's what happens in Canada. That's how they deal with it. Like, close them down, just ship them out of town, or drop them off like somewhere. Like,
I feel like a lot of people don't realize too, but like the government doesn't pay for mental health services like
no,
they do, like normal like stuff in Canada. You know, like we have good healthcare. Well, we have okay healthcare.
Yeah,
but like you have to pay out of pocket if you don't have insurance for mental health stuff, and a lot of people don't realize that. And like a lot of people can't afford that. Like it's a lot. Even for like I was seeing registered psychotherapist, which like she's still very qualified, everything's fine, but like she's like a couple like levels below like the highest and like level of education. And like it was still like I think it was like $150 for 50 minutes.
That's
like,
cheap.
Yeah, I know. That was a good price.
Yeah,
like,
and that's
insane.
sad. Yeah. I know when my brother passed away, obviously I needed therapy because everyone needs therapy, but that was especially. And I had medical coverage, insurance coverage through like my work and Jeff's work and stuff. And I still could only do 4 sessions free. And it was $400 an hour. So I got my 4 sessions out and then I was like, well, we've opened up that can of worms and I can't afford to close it.
Yeah. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. And that is just for a normal therapy thing for me, but people go through much worse or like have more serious mental illnesses. Like my anxiety I can cope with, but some people can't cope with, bipolar disorder or, schizophrenia. Like some of it's dangerous.
Like as bad as my anxiety gets sometimes, like I'm so lucky that all I deal with is anxiety, because like there's so much worse out there that I could be dealing with than I can't afford to like go to therapy all the time, even with my benefits. Like I can't, like it's a lot.
It's a lot. And like the amount of therapy I need is like a weekly, maybe twice a week, like just to cope through, like it is just anxiety and stuff I can manage. Nothing luckily for me like gets in the way of living my normal. I know some people really struggle with like leaving the house, and I'm not quite there luckily, so but some people do, and I'm like, I fucking get it. I'm like that close.
That being said, like we should just say if you are experiencing anything, like you should reach out to a therapist. Just like make it work if you can.
There's a lot of different options. I feel like I complain and then I don't. Like there is websites that are cheaper and you can do it online and
do some research too, because a lot of places do like a sliding scale. Like if you don't have insurance, they'll like if you tell them that, then they will be able to charge you like a reduced rate, which is great. But
exactly, or some will take you on almost like pro bono if you really are like poverty stricken, like and I think there's like programs and stuff you can get into through the government, which are probably full or few and far between.
A lot of places too, they offer like EAP sessions through like your job, so if you're lucky enough to have that, like try to get that figured out.
Exactly.
And
there's better help if you want to sponsor us. That's the one I always hear. There's lots of different options. It's just tough because it's easy to say that. And I say that, but I'm also the type of person where I am so anxious that I cannot reach for help because it makes me anxious. Like when I did go do therapy, Jeff set it all up for me and I didn't have to deal with it. And like, it really helped because I was like, I can't call and make appointments sometimes. Like it just, something about the phone freaks me out.
Sometimes you can do it all online too. Like there's a website called Psychology Today. There's like an American one and a Canadian one. You can just do like a proximity search with like your postal code or whatever. And then like that's where I found my therapist, and like everything was over email like until we actually met, which was so great because I didn't want to call.
Oh, I know, right?
Like, there's definitely there's resources out there.
Totally. And I know it's easy to say, just go find them. It's hard because sometimes you're not in that space to even
100%.
Sometimes it's nice when someone does it for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And like if you can't afford therapy, like talk to a friend or like a parent if you're close.
Write
with
a journal.
Or,
trust me, getting it out sometimes is even enough.
Yeah.
Like just saying it out loud and like letting that energy exit your body. I sound so spiritual and I'm not, but sometimes it helps where I was like, sometimes I just need to say out loud, like, I'm not feeling cool today. And then later on, I'm like, okay, everything that I've like kept inside is out, so I can feel a little bit better, a little relieved.
Yeah. Or you could scream into a pillow. Or if you have your life together, you can work out.
Yep.
Not saying that one from experience, but apparently it helps.
I find for me, and this is just totally random, if I do one thing off a to-do list that's been stressing me out, even if it's unrelated to the anxiety I'm feeling, I'll feel a little bit better. Like you're like, okay, I've done like one productive human thing today. I can feel good or I can feel shitty. Yeah. But you give yourself permission to feel shitty.
One other thing that I do sometimes is I just clean. Like I find cleaning helps me with anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
Just like I don't know. I can't function if my like space is like disgusting, so I'm just like, you know what, I'm just gonna clean, get everything organized, and then maybe my brain will work better.
It's a great distraction. I clean constantly. That is my coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And it's fine. It doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah. I mean, hey, nothing wrong with a clean house.
No, exactly.
Obviously, we are not professionals.
No.
The advice from professionals, but we're just putting it out there.
One mentally ill person to another.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Well, this was kind of a depressing episode, as the true crime ones normally are.
They always end so sad. Yeah.
I mean, it's murder. It's not a happy thing.
No. That's why I like I like talking about the ones that have been solved. Like, I try to avoid the cold cases, even though like they need exposure because it's like someone could break the case. But when there is no justice, it hurts a little harder.
It does. Yeah, it definitely does. Anyway, what are we talking about next? We don't know.
Oh, it's like a wild cardy one. We did werewolves and vampires. So, I did say I wanted to talk about Wendigos. I did say I wanted to talk about Wendigos. So maybe we'll do some sort of like cryptid thing. Yeah, next episode.
Look at us figuring it out as we go. I wonder if other podcasts are more organized than we are. Probably.
But that's not fun. That's not fun.
No, not at all.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. If you want to follow us, we're on Instagram at Locked in a Closet Pod, Twitter at LIAC Pod, and on Facebook at Locked in a Closet Podcast.
Also, we'd love it if you would share your spooky stories with us. You can email us at lockedinaclosetpod@gmail.com, and we'll share them in a future episode.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Keep on creeping on.